Okay, guys, this is the 2-1 to 2-3 test review. Your test is tomorrow. It's only going to have 6 questions, but each question is going to have parts. So for you to say, oh, it's only 6 questions, it's not. Like this first question, number 1, it actually has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different parts. A lot of this stuff is not where you have to do computation and show work. So there's not a lot of partial credit on stuff like this. People at home, you cannot just take a picture of this graph and hope that Mathway will tell you all this stuff. It's not going to work like that. So we have to understand the difference between the questions that they're asking, the graphs that we're looking at, all that good stuff. Looking at the first graph and the second graph, how are they different? You guys should see a difference in them. How are they different? One of them has a constant. Good. What else? The way they look. One has points. Good. One has stopping and starting points, and the other one has arrows. Arrows mean infinity, whether it's on both ends or just one, so you guys have to pay attention to that. But as you go through to answer these questions, this is what I think you should do to make this as easy as possible. First thing, if we're going to talk about domain, domain is on our x-axis, so we read from left to right. So the furthest left that this graph goes is right here on the x-axis. What is that number? So it goes from -7. Does it include -7 or no? Yeah. Yep, because there's a closed point. Good. And it goes all the way over here to positive what? Is it 8 or 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Does it include 9? No, because there's an open circle. So that is exactly what you should have. If you have brackets on both ends, I'm taking points off. You have to have your notation correct. When we talk about range, it's the lowest point on the graph to the highest point. So what is the lowest point on the y-axis that this graph touches? -3, and it includes it because it's a closed circle. And then what's the highest point? +7. Does it include it or no? No. Right? It's an open circle. When they say f of a number, what this means is f of x, right? So they're saying where x is this number on the graph, what is the y value? So if it says f of -5, I go over here to -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. This value is about how much? I'm going to give you something that's particular, but it's about how much? What's the y value? About 1.5, 1.5, something like that. The number right now is not my most important concern. The most important concern is that you understand what this question is asking. If it says f of -1, that means go over to -1 on the x-axis and then tell me what the y value is at that point. What is it? What's the y value? When x is -1, it's, what is it?
2 or -2?
No, it's 2. You're right. It's 2, positive. When it says f of +2, so I go right here to +2 and I come up, what's the y value there? It happens to be 2. Okay, good. F of 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's the y value when f is 7? 0. If they gave you a question, guys, that says f of x equals, hold on, 3. What is that question asking?
What's the x?
Yeah, what's the x value? So go to where y is 3. Okay, here's y is 3. What's the x value where y is 3?
That's 6.
What kind of 6?
-6.
It'd be -6. Okay, so you might see questions asked either way. F of x, and they give you a number means what's the x value? F of a number means what's the y value? About -6-ish? Okay. Again, tomorrow it'll be very specific. If I asked you f of x equals 0, what would x equal?
0.
Or, where else is 0? X could be 5, or x could also be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -6. Excuse me? And all three of those x values, your answer is 0 for y. So it can work out there. Now, when we talk about intervals of increase, decrease, and constant, guys, it's really important. When you have infinity, when you have arrows on either end, things are going to change. Remember, we only talk about, or we only look at the x-axis, just the x. So we read from left to right. Over here on the x-axis is negative infinity. Would you guys agree with me that my graph over here, I'm starting up here, negative infinity, to this turning point. So what am I doing here? Increasing or decreasing? It's decreasing, good. It's decreasing from negative infinity to what point on the x-axis? What is that point on the x-axis that I just drew the arrow to? -3, good. Okay, so then I take my pencil and I say, okay, from this turning point up to here, what is my graph doing? It's increasing. So on the x-axis, I look just the x-axis, it's increasing from the interval of -3 to what? To +3, good. And now I say, okay, I have some more turning points. So I turn the corner here and then I come down. What is my interval of decrease here? Be careful. From this point,
+3 to infinity.
+3 to positive infinity. Is that you, Vega? Yeah? Why do we say positive infinity? The line's going down. How come we didn't say negative infinity?
Are we using like the x-axis?
Correct. Correct. Very good. You only look at the x-axis. So this, as this is going and getting wider, it's going towards infinity over here, not negative infinity. What is my interval of constant? There isn't one. Do I just leave it blank and just
No, you put 0 or none.
We put none. Don't put 0. None would be the right answer there. Just put none. Good. Everybody's test version, and there's a whole bunch of different versions. You're going to have 2 graphs that you have to tell all this stuff for. Very important. Everybody will have one piecewise. So we're going to do both of these together to make sure we understand. Guys, again, there's not a lot of work that you can show me here. You can show me if there's open and closed circles. You can show me how to graph a line, that sort of thing, but there's not a lot of computation where I can give you a lot of partial credit. So you've got to make sure you understand what you're doing. I'm going to do this first function right here. F of x equals -2. I'm going to do it in green. What does that line look like? F of x equals -2. It's a constant, right? Right here at y equals -2. So I'm going to draw a dotted line at y equals -2. And then they told me where to look. They told me that I want only values that are less than or equal to -3. So I'm going to go over here, -3. Where are the values less than or equal to? To the left of that vertical line or to the right? To the left. So I want all this stuff over here. I don't want the other stuff. So what do I do with the stuff I don't want? I'm going to erase it. Good. And then another thing that's really important that I'm going to be looking for, guys, what kind of a circle should I have at the end? I'm going to have an open circle at -3. Why is it open? Because it's not included. Doesn't say we're equal to. Make sure. I don't want to have to guess, because if I have to guess, I guarantee I'll guess the wrong thing. All right, the second one we're going to do in red. So I'm going to say, okay, my slope here is 1/2. My y-intercept is at 4. And it's a positive line, so I know it's going to go that way. You don't have to do that. I just do that for myself to help me remember. So I go up to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go up to 4, and my slope is 1 over 2, so I go up 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, so it looks something like this. And where did they tell me to look? Between -2, so -2, and +3, right? 1, 2, 3. So I only want the stuff that's in between -2 and +3. So I'm going to say -2 to +3. What do I do with everything else? I'm going to erase it. And what should be at the ends of my red segment? What should my dots look like? -2 is closed. And +3 is what? Open. Good. Good, good, good. All right, then the last one we'll do in blue. So my slope here is -3 over 1. My y-intercept is at 2. And again, guys, this is a negative line, so I draw a little picture. I remind myself it's going to go that way. So at -2, I put a dot. And 3 over 1, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Do my little dotted line. And where do they want me to look here? X is greater than or equal to 3, right? So all the stuff that's greater than or equal to is down here. What kind of a dot do I have at the end of that? It's closed. And then what do I do with all the other stuff I don't want? I'm going to erase it. Good. So your piecewise function should look like this. That's what your graph should look like. Should be real easy for me to see that you guys understand which pieces of which line you guys want. Okay? Going over here to the second one. Second one's a little different. Okay? Our second one's a little different because it's not 3 lines. What is this? It's 1 line and a what? What's my x squared going to make, guys? A parabola. So I'm going to, whenever you have an x squared, it's going to make a parabola. I'm going to do a little table of values. Whenever you have a parabola, guys, just use -2 to +2. It gives you a nice little picture. -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. If I plug in -2, I have -2 squared plus 3. What's -2 squared? 4. But then I have that negative out in front. So this is -4 plus 3, which gives me -1. When I plug in -1, I have -1 squared plus 3. Well, -1 squared is 1, but then I have that negative out in front. So it's -1 plus 3, which gives me 2. If I plug in 0, I have -0 squared plus 3. Well, that's just going to give me 3. If I plug in 1, it's going to be the same thing as -1. So it's going to give me 2. And if I plug in 2, it's going to give me the same thing as -2. And I get, not 4, and I get -1. So when I graph this, I have a point at -2, -1. I have a point at -1, +2. I have a point at 0, 3. 1, 2, and then 2, -1. So do your little dotted parabola part. Now they're telling me to look where? All the values that are what? Less than or equal to 2. So I have a line right here. Where are all the values less than or equal to 2? At the left side of that line or the right hand side?
Left side.
The left side. So guys, look, all of this is stuff that I want. I want all, I'm trying to do it in regular. I want all of this. What kind of a dot do I have on -2? All right, +2, I'm sorry.
Closed.
Yep, it's closed. And then what do I do with everything else?
You get rid of it.
I'm going to get rid of it. We erase it. Good. All right, now the second part is a line. We know how to graph a line. Use red. All right, my slope is 2/3. My y-intercept is at -2, and it's a positive line, so it's going to go like that. So at -2, my slope of 2 over 3, so up 2 over 3, down 2 over 3, so it's going to go something like this. And where do they want me to look here? Greater than 2. So all the stuff that's greater than 2, it's kind of like this. Close dot. And then what do I do with everything else? Gonna erase it. So it looks a little something like this. Questions on the piecewise? I need to see this, guys, tomorrow. You have to be very, very careful. If you give me something sloppy, that's the kind of grade that you're going to get for it. It needs to be very well organized, and I need to be able to see your dots that are open and closed. Your slope should be going in the correct position, that sort of thing. If you have a parabola, make an XY chart. Don't just make a random parabola. I need to see some sort of an XY chart. Questions? Let's look at the last ones. Every single version of the test will have a question or two that has all these several parts that are asking you these questions. It says use the given function to evaluate and simplify. In number 5, letter A, what are they asking me to do with 8? What do they want me to do with the number 8?
Plug it into X.
Plug it into X. Good, Kennedy. So I'm going to say -7. This is how you guys show me work. You're showing me in that first step, you understand, oh, I have to take the 8 and plug it in where I see X. So -7 times 8 is -56 plus 4 gives me -52. And that would be my answer. That is evaluating and simplifying. Yeah. Yeah. All right, then the next one, it says, what do they want me to do? What do they want me to do with that 2X? Plug it in when you see what?
Plug it in where the X's are.
Okay, so the first step that you showing me your work is plugging in 2X where you see the X, right? If you don't do that, you're getting points off. It says to evaluate, that's what that means, and then simplify. So now we would just multiply. -7 times 2 is -14X plus 4. I cannot simplify that anymore, guys. I cannot combine -14X and 4, so that's it. We're good. All right, what do they want me to do in letter C? What do they want me to do in C? Instead of X, what do they want me to plug in?
They want you to,
Instead of X, what do they want me to plug in? The whole parenthesis. X minus 1. So I would say X minus 1 and then plus 4. And then you distribute. You get -7X, right, plus 7 plus 4. So when I simplify that, it becomes, there you go, -7X plus 11. Good. And then the last one, what is D asking you to do? What is D asking you to do? Multiply what by -3? The whole function. Good. It's saying take -3 and multiply it by the whole function, which was -7X plus 4. Is that it? The original? Okay. So now I just distribute. 21X minus 12. If you guys notice, I did not get the same answer for anything. You should not get the same answer for anything. They're asking you 4 different questions, so you should be getting 4 different answers. Depending on where they put. You see in letter D, they put the -3 out in front. That means multiply the whole function by that. If it's in parentheses, like saying, hey, plug it in, then you plug it in. It just depends on where the number is. All right, this one's a little more complicated. Everybody will have something like this on their test. But what are they asking me to do in A and B? Just do what? Just plug in. That's it. So I'm going to just, the first step is to say, okay, -3 times -2 squared plus 6 times -2 minus 1. Very simple process, but you guys have to be careful with your signs and all that. First thing you do is exponent. So -2 squared is 4. So you have negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12 minus 1. Work left to right, guys. What's negative 12 minus 12? Negative 24 minus 1 gives me negative 25. Perfect. The second question, they want us to plug in 3. So I have negative 3 times 3 squared plus 6 times 3 minus 1. Well, 3 squared is 9. So negative 3 times 9 is negative 27 plus 18 minus 1. What's negative 27 plus 18? Negative 9, good. Minus 1 gives me negative 10. All right, this next one is going to be a little more complicated. A lot of room for error, but you guys all can do this. You're going to take x minus 2 and plug it in for all of the x's you see in the original. So the first step is to say, okay, I have negative 3, and then I'm plugging in x minus 2 squared. Then it's plus 6 times x minus 2 minus 1. Simplify your algebra first. This is negative 3. What does it mean to have x minus 2 quantity squared? Means I have x minus 2 multiplied by itself 2 times, right? Plus, you can distribute this. 6x minus 12 minus 1. Don't combine any like terms or anything yet. Get this done first, then worry about adding and subtracting. So now I have to FOIL, so I have negative 3 times x is x squared. X times negative 2. Yep, and then negative 2 times x. So that's going to give me a total of negative 4x's. And then negative 2 times negative 2 is plus 4. And then you still have the rest of plus 6x minus 12 minus 1. Now I have to distribute that negative 3. So when I do that, I have negative 3x squared, right? Negative times a negative gives me positive 12x. Negative times positive gives me negative 12 plus 6x minus 12 minus 1. And now we can combine all of our like terms. Does anything else have a x squared? No, so I just have negative 3x squared. I have a positive 12x and a positive 6x. Gives me plus 18x. Good. Negative 12, negative 12. Negative 24. Minus 1 is negative 25. Basic algebra that you guys have done a million times. You just have to be careful. Be careful with your signs. Be careful with your order of operations. All that stuff. And then the last question. What is the last question asking us to do? Multiply the whole function by 4. So you have 4 times, what was it, negative 3x squared plus 6x minus 1. Is that correct? Okay. So just distribute. 4 times negative 3x is negative 12x squared. 4 times 6 is plus 24x minus 4. Right? Was that the original equation? Yeah. All right, so then that's it. Questions? Questions at home?
Yeah. On number 4, like the last two equations, or like the last two things, I don't know.